Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q3 FY21 conference call of Hindustan Oil Exploration Company Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anuj Sonpal from Valorem Advisors. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. My name is Anuj Sonpal from Valorem Advisors. We represent the investor relations of HOEC, or Hindustan Oil Exploration Limited. On behalf of the company, I would like to thank you all for participating in the company's third quarter and 9 months ended of a financial year 2021 earnings conference call. Before we begin, I would like to mention a short cautionary statement as mandatory. Some of the statements made in today's earnings conference call may be forward-looking in nature. Such forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties which could cause actual results to differ from those anticipated. Such statements are based on management's beliefs as well as assumptions made by and information currently available to management. Audiences are cautioned not to place any undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. The purpose of today's earnings conference call is purely to educate and bring awareness about the company's fundamental business and financial quarter under review. I would now like to introduce you to the management participating with us in today's earnings call. We have with us Mr. P. Elango, Managing Director, and Mr. R. Jeevanandam, Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer. Without much delay, I request Mr. P. Elango to give his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anuj. Good morning, everyone. Happy to connect with you all on this Q3 FY21 earnings call. R. Jeevanandam, our CFO and whole-time director, is with me, and Valorem Advisors, our investor relations advisors, are also on the call. I hope you all have received our updated earnings presentation. We've also uploaded that on our website for your reference. I'm sure you all have noticed that oil prices have touched sweet 60 yesterday. Prices have been steadily rising. Global oil analysts expect this trend to continue during 2021 and 22. In India, vaccine launch has turned the corner and outlook for economic recovery is positive. However, challenge to executing projects on the ground still remains, and incorporating strict COVID-19 protocols is critical to manage operations and to execute projects. With this in mind, we have kept our production operations continuing safely with lean teams at all our operating sites. Our first priority has been to ensure safety of our personnel and the facility. In Dirok, we continue to maintain the high production levels achieved earlier in the year. We are now confident of producing at these levels on a consistent basis. The average production of gas from Dirok in Q3 FY21 was 39 million standard cubic feet per day. Performance of Dirok reservoir has been very promising. Our endeavor has been to deliver more using the existing infrastructure. Towards this, we have been using the 4-inch Kopu line and process facility of Oil India at Kusijan to meet additional demand in excess of our planned capacity of 36 million standard cubic feet per day or 1 million standard cubic meters per day. Our biggest hurdle to better value creation in Northeast has been the low gas prices at $1.79 per MMBTU. Prices since October 2020 has been the lowest ever, hitting our revenues badly despite good volumes. To discover better prices from the market, we are preparing to launch e-bidding for Dirok gas as per the Government of India's guidelines on the e-bidding process. We are encouraging major consumers in the region, including Oil India and IOC, to participate in this bidding. We are in consultation with our JV partners to launch it in this quarter and to discover a new premium price over the government notified prices that will be effective from 1st April 2021. Depending on the response, our target is to have new sales agreements in Q1 of FY22. The current arrangement will continue with Oil India to ensure smooth transition using the pipeline infrastructure of Oil India. In PY1 offshore field, inconsistent offtake earlier had adversely impacted the performance of our wells. This situation continues with the declined production from the wells. To improve production, rig-based well intervention in the form of workover of existing wells and/or drilling of new wells will be required. Geological studies have been completed to plan the next drilling campaign in this unique fractured basement reservoir. Application for environmental clearance has been filed. Plan is to commence drilling in PY1 after first oil from B80. Our current focus is on executing the installation project in Western Offshore, B80 for first oil, before the current West Coast weather window ends. In the context of pandemic-induced supply disruptions, procuring project material to meet our schedule had been a big challenge. We had embarked on a global search to source items from inventory. All critical items have now been procured from various parts of the world. Flexible pipelines have been picked up from USA and UK and are in transit to the location. Convoy has been sourced from Batam and is now undergoing final refurbishment in India. MOPU works have been completed and class certificates have been obtained to move it from Sharjah to Mumbai. Contractor for installation of gas export into ONGC's line have been finalized. For evacuation of oil, FSO frame price is purchased by our group company Hindage Oilfield Services and is getting ready for dry docking at Singapore to meet the project schedule. We had hoped to commence the installation works in February 2021, but logistical delays have pushed it to March. We are still facing visa-related challenges to mobilize domain experts from different parts of the world. We are now fully geared up to commence the installation works in March to complete it before monsoon. Overall, we are confident to find alternative solutions to complete the project and deliver first oil and gas during Q1 FY22. On the marketing front, we would soon be launching the e-bidding process targeting gas consumers and aggregators in Gujarat, and for oil, we have initiated preliminary discussions with the refinery. I now invite Jivanandam to take you through the financials.
Thanks, Elango. We report that the company made a revenue of 24 crores in the current quarter against 30 crores in the previous quarter. In the consolidated accounts, it is 28 crores against 33 crores in the previous quarter. Volume of oil and gas is almost similar, and the reduction in revenue is mainly from reduction in prices of Assam gas from $2.64 to $1.98 in the current quarter, which is about 25% reduction, and the same is reflected in the reduction of revenue. This quarter profit on standalone is 7.8 crores against 10.33 crores in the previous quarter. In the consolidated accounts, the profit after tax for this quarter is 8.44 crores against 11.7 crores in the previous quarter. Total expenses of standalone is 19 crores, comparing 23 crores in the previous quarter. Operating costs are not linear to the production except statutory levies such as royalty and cess, which is ad valorem. In the consolidated accounts, it is 22.58 crores, comparing 24.42 crores in the previous quarter. Operating cash flow standalone for this quarter is 13 crores, comparing 10 crores in the previous quarter. In the consolidated accounts, operating cash flow stands at 14 crores. The company's standalone cash and cash equivalent is about 121 crores as on 31st December, and the consolidated accounts, the cash equivalent is 141 crores. In case of B80 development, offshore installation processing unit is ready to move to B80 field. FSO, which is an Afromax oil tanker, is to be dry docked, while the single point mooring being refurbished at an Indian yard. Whole system is expected to be ready for installation before the end of this financial year. These facilities are resourced through our own subsidiaries with a borrowed capital of about 85 crores, and about 38 crores are yet to be drawn to meet the cost towards the SBM and its installation. These assets, such as offshore installation, which being a self-elevating unit, and FSO being an Afromax tanker, are movable assets and will add substantial value to the service business of the subsidiaries during and after the captive use in BAT field. We have secured a loan facility of rupees 150 crores from Oman to meet the capital cost towards additional 10% participating interest in the block. We have undrawn facility of rupees 100 crores to meet the funding needs of the BAT. We are confident that we will meet our obligations and BAT would be on revenue mode in the ensuing financial year. All our subsidiaries will be on the revenue mode with the production from BAT. With this, we will embark on an unhindered overall growth of E&P assets of HOEC as well as the oil field services of our subsidiaries. We have a prepayment provisions for our loans and will ensure that your company is again debt-free within 12 to 18 months of production from BAT. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Jiva. Anuj, we can open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to withdraw yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Riddhesh Gandhi from Discovery Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Just wanted to get an understanding of any risks which are there with regards to us being able to actually commercialize the BAT before the rains start, and any other contingency risks the longer term in the execution which could happen.
Yeah. Riddhesh, now that we have managed to source all the project material, and as I explained, mobilizing them, and all the material would arrive by end February, first week of March, we ensure that we commence the installation in first week of March. So as we had earlier estimated, the total installation time could be, depending on weather, it can be completed in 45 days to 60 days time. Therefore, with all the mobilization that is being now fully committed, we are confident we will be able to complete it before this season. Exact date of completion is really determined by how the weather would behave, and depending on that, number of days to make the completion will vary. But otherwise, we are confident that we will complete it in this weather window.
All right, understood. Thanks, and that's all from me. All the best.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vardha Rajan from Systematix. Please go ahead.
2-3 questions. One, can you please elaborate on that 10% additional stake that deep? Secondly, I wanted you to elaborate on the PY1 situation and how we can actually look at the production going forward, and what kind of a capex one is looking at in terms of additional drilling. And 3, of course, there is some visibility on PY3. And finally, the crude quality in BAT, what should we use as a benchmark? Should we use as a Brent minus something, or some other benchmark? Thanks.
Right. Okay, thank you, Vardha. On the first question of additional acquisition of 10% from our JV partners, as we announced, this transaction between the partners have been completed, and right now we have sought the final approval from Government of India. It has been cleared at the DGH level. It has gone for a final approval by the government, which we expect to receive over the next few weeks' time. So that completes the acquisition, and we would then have a formally 60% stake in the project. As we had outlined earlier, under this arrangement, we will carry it, our partner, till first oil. Once the first oil commences, and from that point onwards, all the operating expenses would be shared at the ratio of 60 and 40%. That's on the additional 10%. We will also be using this fund to own the MOPU on a 100% basis. That will be owned by one of our group subsidiary company, fully owned subsidiary company. That is on the BAT part. On PY1, what we have experienced is that due to a prolonged shutdown in consumers and inconsistent offtake from the wells have declined, and this will require mobilizing a rig to drill new wells in the region. We have completed all the geological studies and identified the location. We've got a FDP approved by the government for drilling 2 to 3 wells, and our plan is to now complete the BAT, and after we get the environmental clearance and all other approvals, take up the drilling in PY1. Exact timelines we have not yet formed up. Our effort is now to execute the BAT. On the quality of crude, we've got the detailed analysis. We'll be sharing with the refineries, and maybe in the next call we'll be able to give you some idea about the prices that it can secure. On PY3, the operator is making effort. Right now we don't have any clear plans on when the production will commence from PY3.
Thanks. One final question on the debt cost, sir. What is the kind of debt cost we are looking at?
The debt is an overall cost is 12% per annum.
Okay. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rishabh Tambi from HDFC. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. It's Rishabh here. So, need to understand the update on Kharsang field. Are we on track for Q2 FY22? Also on the Keren, what is the update on the Keren field?
Yeah. Rishabh, on Kharsang, right now the final clearances of forest and clearances for the next campaign is still outstanding, and as well as the government has extended the PSC for a shorter duration pending resolution of certain cost recovery issues as such. So once those issues are resolved, the further investment and drilling in Kharsang will take place. Right now the field is producing around 600 barrels of gross production a day, and with the oil prices strengthening, the revenue from this field will be better. Otherwise, ongoing production is going on. The next part of drilling campaign will happen after the PSC gets a full term extension, which in principle agreed by the government. They are waiting on certain cost recovery issues to be resolved with the operator. On Kerem,
FDP is pending, right? Revised FDP is pending, not the forest clearance and mining leases. The company has already received that, right?
Mining revised extended PSC term is pending. The PSC has been extended on ad hoc basis.
Okay.
And on Kerem, once again the forest clearance is pending, and pending after that only the PML will be issued. The issue in Arunachal Pradesh government is they would not issue mining leases without the forest clearance being pre-issued, and that is on this matter the DGH is also following up with the state government, but it's still not been secured.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir, any updates on the Cambay Basin? What we are looking at R2 area and all in CBON-7?
Yeah, and the R2 area, the final PSC execution is, I should say, advanced stages. It's been delayed for quite some time. Recently, there was a meeting held by the ministry to clear that. Once that PSC is executed, which we hope it will happen in the hopefully in this quarter, because it has got a push from the government as well now. And in anticipation of that, we've got the field development plan approved for our other field, North Balol and Asjol in Cambay, and we have filed environmental application and commenced EA study for filing to secure environmental clearance, preparing ourselves for the drilling campaign in Cambay Basin, combining all the 3 fields.
Okay. Okay, sure, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, Rishabh.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hardik Jain from Whitestone Financial Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. So regarding PY1, as you mentioned, because of erratic offtake from the customer, the well has become less efficient. So is there any risk of, writing off any expenses in PY1? Because we had to do some, this kind of write-off earlier with R1 of the well.
We have already to the bone on it, and we don't have much to write off in this, because we are keeping only the minimum asset value there, which has been always evaluated on every annual basis. And we don't plan any impairment of those vessels. The underlying reserves remains the same, and we don't expect any impairment in the current financial year.
So what would be the asset value that we have on the balance sheet for PY1?
It's about, just a sec. Huh? It is including total value put together is about less than $12 million.
Okay. And sir, in the Northeast, the price has reduced from $2.64 to $1.98. So this is due. I think this is due to the government mechanism of price discovery, is it, or this is the market link pricing?
This is the price fixed by the government, because they put the sophisticated formula for basing. One is on the national balancing point, another is on the Henry Hub, and another is Alberta, and another is Russian. Now these prices, the conglomerate, they fix the price of the lowest one of 1.68. And now with the current trend, if you look at, even with this, we will be able to have a better price from the 1st April onwards. So this will vary on every 6 months as at the current mode, unless we get a marketing freedom and where the gas can be sold at the exchange or something.
And you mentioned something about launching some bidding mechanism for new clients, and terms with IOC will remain as it is. So can you just elaborate on this?
Yeah. What we plan to do is, as you know, currently, whatever is the total gas production from Dirok is being sold to Oil India, who's also our partner in the venture, right? So they buy the crude, gas from us and distribute it along with to their customers, mixing it with their gas. What we have been, and Oil India is allowed to sell the gas only at government notified prices. So what we have with the new policy that has been rolled out by the government, we have the marketing freedom for Dirok gas, but it can only be currently sold within the Northeast region with a limited infrastructure. So what we have persuaded Oil India and our partners is to launch this e-bidding process to discover what could be the market prices within the existing customers as such. We do expect some amount of premium, but it will not be like Gujarat or so. So that exercise we are hoping to launch in March itself to discover the new price. Now, if the prices are come out to be better and the customers are reliable customers, we will migrate into that regime. As a backup, we already have an ongoing contractual arrangement with Oil India, which will continue. The whole idea is, if not the entire volume, at least part of the volume we will put it in the market with the support of Oil India, because their infrastructure will be required to sell it directly to the customer. And so they've also, we are in discussion with them, and the government mandate is also clear to discover gas prices through this process only. So we would be launching that, and depending on the outcome, we would take the call.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Tejas Shah from Unique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I think we had a cash of around 150 crore odd on our books.
if I'm not wrong, then why do we need to take additional loan of around 250 crores?
This is a cash balance in the company which is in the order of 141 crores at the moment. But we are having a capital program which comes on it, which is going to create a. There are two set of assets are there. You have to look at three set of assets. We increase our participating in this from 50 to 60%. There is a 10% capital outlay which goes about some say 70-80 crores which goes out from there. Then you've got a mobile offshore processing unit which is more than 175 crores. Then you have got about Afromax tanker and the SBM installation which is about 150 crores. Of the 400 crore capital outlay which we have got in place right now, for that we are securing only 150 crore cash, and you cannot run an oil and gas company without a cash in hand. That is the reason we are having the capital. You cannot be onto the bone on every time. That's the reason we have had adequate cash. We intend to have minimum cash at least 100 crores on hand on every quarter. That's the reason we got this loan. Because we are getting at 12%, we are getting reinvested back at 6%. The net exposure to is only 6% per annum to us.
Okay. Thanks. Any plans of capital raising then via equity market?
No plan of capital raising, and we have no plan to any equity dilution.
Okay. If you can throw some light on B80, now I think you are saying production should start from April. So in Indian rupees, means what will be the expected volume and profit from there? Now the oil prices have gone up. You were looking at $45 in the last con call average price. Now has the outlook changed to $55 or $60, and what would be the revenue or bottom line impact?
If we have a 12 months production there onto it, at $50 oil price, as a conservative, we will not go beyond, even if it is $60. We will take a price of $50, that is a benchmark for us. We'll be making a total revenue, or the net back to us is about 300 crores. Out of that, the amount which will get on the balance sheet, which will get on the P&L account should be 200 crores. Two things, the production should be one, it is a 2 kVH production, and the second thing is the price. With this, we should be able to hit a target of 300 crores net back and 200 crores profit on the P&L account.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nirbhay Mahawar from N Square Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello. Our MOPU was expected to move from Sharjah from December onwards. While you have mentioned that it is ready, are we purposely delaying because of the other things and projects are getting delayed, or?
Yes, correct. What we thought was, once you bring we wanted to synchronize the movement of all materials so that the project can commence without any unavoidable expenses. Because the moment you bring MOPU here, you need to have a support vessel mechanism. We felt the MOPU is safe there and a much lower cost to retain it there. Now that we have a specific dates on each of the project vessels and material, so we have got all the permission required to move. We expect the MOPU to move, if not today, tomorrow, from Sharjah. And it will arrive before other materials arrive. So this way we will be able to manage the support cost better.
Also, on the gas pricing front, you mentioned that what would be the, if we assume current oil prices around $50-$55, what would be the gas pricing in the from April onwards, a rough range of?
No, it is we haven't done the full calculation, but it should be expected to be about $2 from the current 1.79. It should be about $2, but we don't have access to detailed calculation on that.
And we are expecting that in Dirok we will be able to get premium over this expected $2 if we go for this EBI route.
Correct. Our bidding process itself would be what is the potential customer is willing to pay as a premium over this price. That's how the bidding itself will be conducted. So we are covered on baseline, We would see how much volume we can clear with reliable customers, what kind of a premium we can secure. That's the purpose of the exercise.
Okay. And we are entitled to sell all of it if we have got enough demand from the customers. There is no volume cap like first 35 mm CFD you need to.
No, there is no volume cap. We can.
Okay. Fair. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. So my first question is on the e-bidding process that you're doing in Assam. Would the whole process become quite much more simpler if, let's say, the IGX comes out with Duliajan as one of the hubs for exchange in India?
Correct, Rohit. In fact, we've been Hazira has been designated as one of the delivery point for online trading. Hazira in Gujarat. So for the BAT gas, that presents a very good opportunity. As far as Northeast and Dirok Assam gas, we've been suggesting Duliajan as a hub, but it's not yet been designated. Maybe they have certain requirements for once a full-fledged Eastern gas grid gets commissioned, that is likely to be designated as a point. But we are not really waiting on that. We in parallel have discussed the matter with Oil India, and we are proposing Duliajan as a physical delivery point to actual customers.
Understood. So that was helpful, sir. So the second question, just to clarify again, I think Jiva sir said that for the 10% incremental stake in BAT, we paid 70 to 80 crores. And if that is correct, what is how have we valued this asset? Under what assumptions have we decided this stake? This valuation. If you could explain, that would be really helpful.
Actually, there is two way of looking at. Actually, from our side, we look at as a value perception. From their seller side, they look at a funds perception. See, when we looked at the total cost incurred by the company as such for that and the future work program which we are going to incur there, we have looked at the cost plus basis. That's the reason we valued that 10% participating interest, which is around 60 to 70 crores. So, in a way that the partner is not going to partner's cost is we are not going to look at any cash outflow from our side. We will be putting this money into the block for funding the partner. That's where we have structured this transaction.
Understood. So that was helpful. And again on the funding, I was just curious to know. I've been following this company for a while now, and we have a very strong balance sheet, and we have excellent management with great transparency. So, is 12% the best rate that we could get? I would have assumed that we would have gotten much better rate. So, any clarity on that front?
Actually, we were looking at more towards a very, very short term. We don't want to look at as a longer term funding. Second thing, if I go to the bank, the minimum duration to be minimum of 5 years and 5 to 3 years. And here I am looking at as a very, very short term for me. And the moment my BAT comes on the cash flow mode, whatever my surplus cash will go back to my repaying the loan. So it's only a very, very small period of funding as such. So that's the reason we looked at 12% is okay. And it is a soft funding and it is without any security. It gets quicker to us. That's the reason we went to this mode.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. That was helpful. And when you mentioned that BAT has a net back, so net back is the net profit that we intended to accrue, our share of profits. Isn't that not what you were intending when you said?
No, net back means without considering the depreciation and depletion.
But this is the cash that will come into the for the 60% participating interest that we have. Yeah. It is after all the expenditure, including operating.
That's right. For 60% participating interest, the net cash accruing to the company as such.
Great. So one clarity here, sir. Our participating interest is 60%, which would mean that roughly 60% of profits would come to us. But given that we are providing pretty much all the assets and that is on our books and it will be on a rental basis, would I be right in assuming that the net cash flow on a whole project level basis would be actually much more and 200 crore is just purely the profits from the sale of oil and gas? Or is it including that amount as well?
It is a standalone, what I told you. The two subsidiary companies as an independent entity will be earning their own revenue, and they have their own cost, and their margins won't be substantially higher. Their capital, they will be making a return which is in the order of say 20 to 30%. So that is
Okay, so
that will reflect in the consolidated accounts.
Understood. So there will be additional cash also that will be accruing to the consolidated entity because of the renting of the assets to this project, right?
That's right.
Basically.
That's right. And we have a small borrowing thereon. That borrowing also we would like to liquidate as quickly as we can. At a moment, we would like to keep the cost of capital around less than 7%. That's our idea. So we will try to work it through that.
Perfect. So that was helpful. So last question. This quarter I found it interesting, at least on the presentation front, that we seem to have been mentioning multiple projects in addition to BAT. Specifically on Dirok, the additional pipeline that you were talking about, right? So you mentioned that the initial set of pipes have already come while we are waiting for certain approval. So any estimated timeline on when you expect this additional capacity, which will take it from 35 to 55, I believe. When do you expect that to happen? Can it happen parallelly while PY1 or some other project is happening, or are you still going with a plan of focusing on one big thing at a time?
No, Rohit, as I outlined, our strategy in Dirok is to how do we enhance the value for the current volume level. That's the first thing. And minimize additional investment to the extent possible. So therefore, this e-bidding exercise is a very important strategic initiative. If you are able to get better prices in the market, you've got to ensure that more volume does not put pressure on the price that you can secure as such. So ultimately, it's about what is the price the market can give you. When I say market, the Northeast market can give you, or the marginal additional volume as such. That's what we are trying to establish. And you've seen our nameplate capacity in Dirok is 36 million cubic feet per day or 1 million cubic meters per day. But we are able to deliver 39, 40, and some days we have done 42 by using the additional infrastructure that is available with us in terms of a 4-inch line that we had laid earlier, as well as the spare capacity of Oil India to process the gas. So our idea is to see how do we realize better market determined prices first, and what level the market can absorb the volume, then decide on timing of the additional drilling of wells as such. But in all this, we see this 38-kilometer pipeline is to be a critical infrastructure because the current pipeline has got certain limitation. That pipeline is owned by Oil India. That is a pipeline which takes the gas from Kusijan to Duliajan. And Duliajan is the central hub for the Northeast as such. Therefore, on pipeline project, we are proceeding. Pipeline segment of the project, we are proceeding. We have applied for the forest clearance, which is a critical path item. And, in forest clearances, if the application is made by a public sector company, then the process is slightly simpler than a private company. Therefore, in this application has been made by Oil India at our request, and depending on that progress, we would first start the pipeline part of the infrastructure, then decide on need basis when do we drill additional wells. As we see the well productivity in all the wells that we already have, which is 6 number of wells, particularly the 3 wells that we drilled under the new campaign are very, very high productive wells. Therefore, we'll decide further capital investment in a prudent manner as required. The first priority is to create more value for the volume that we already produce.
So that was very helpful. Thank you for the detailed answer. And the last question, sorry, from my end, sir, is do you see any regulatory change in terms of pricing the particular pricing mechanism we have, which is taking the 4 points across the world and taking the lowest price there, which doesn't seem very efficient given we are importing a large amount of LNG into the country at much higher prices. So any thoughts on the regulatory side which will deregulate this?
I believe the government is looking at it, set up a committee as well. Primarily, this part of it is being pushed by the public sector companies, namely ONGC and Oil India, because large volumes of their gas is governed by this pricing arrangement. Most of the new fields have, any gas field which got the field development plan approved after 1st April 2019 enjoy full marketing freedom. This is to basically govern some of the all the nominated fields of ONGC and Oil India, and fields like such as ours, which are perennial block, which is located in an area like Northeast, where you really can't easily sell at premium as such. So I believe there is a committee, there's a strong push by the public sector companies to revise the formula, but no other specific information is really available. We are also waiting for that.
Thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure attending your con call, sir. I'll get back into the queue.
Thank you, Rohit.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Rikesh Parikh from Barclays. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, in your presentation, you have mentioned about some new leader, Deccan Trap. Can you just throw some more light on that?
Yeah. In the B80 field, when we drill the wells, we have gone deeper than the initial targeted depth level that has been done both by us and ONGC in the past. And in deeper, we found an interesting sand which is below the original targeted level. But we were not able to test it or come to any conclusion on that. But it has certainly given us a lead that future drilling campaigns we can target it at a higher level as such. So that is about that lead, but that's a very promising lead. In addition, as we indicated earlier, that we believe that overall resource base in this block would be higher than initially expected. With that conviction only, we had gone for full investment in this block, not only from HOEC, but also bringing, as Jiva was explaining, our subsidiary companies also to invest in related service activities. The idea, we truly believe in the overall potential of this block. Specific studies and numbers are still going on. Our third-party independent reservoir consultants have wanted to have some more production history to come to a final decision on numbers, which we will do. And I think the revised numbers would be announced by us once we have everything lined up in the annual report of the current year. So overall, we are very optimistic about the block. But currently, our focus is to get this first oil and gas produced in this weather window.
Sure. And have we been able to tie up for the marketing for gas from B80?
Yeah. So B80, we would, as I was explaining, we are launching the DROC gas bidding process. The process takes about 3 weeks from the launch. We are doing that first for DROC, and we'll follow that with for B80. The idea is by 1st April, the new gas price prevailing would be known, which would be seen as a bit of a benchmark. But we have full free marketing freedom for B80 gas, and there is a designated delivery point as well, both for physical as well as on exchanges. So we would conduct that e-bidding process as required by the government sometime in April.
Okay. And last, this DROC phase 2, when that will be operational?
So as I was explaining, we would decide on the exact timing of the DROC phase 2 based on what kind of market prices we will be able to determine and decide on that basis. But right now, our capacity is close to 40 million standard cubic feet per day that we can deliver if the market absorbs that. The market is able to absorb in that range.
And last, on the pricing front, do you view that we have seen the bottom of the pricing in terms of gas pricing, and probably we have seen the worst as such from here onwards?
I agree. Today, the gas prices in India is not only the lowest, but seen in India, but lowest in the world as well. I don't think anywhere else in the world you can get gas at $1.79 per MMBtu. 10 years back, the gas prices in India was about $4.2, almost uniformly across the country. So it can't get lower.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vaibhav Pachatia from HNI Investment. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. My question has been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Imtiaz Ali, shareholder. Please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Sir, is there any plan to have increased production from your Western Offshore Coast once you have the BAT first oil production going forward, let's say after a year?
So initially, for the first 2 years at least, the production would be stabilized and delivered on this basis. As I said, this field has got potential for more drilling, and which we would come back after seeing the initial production date.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the follow-up, sir. So my question was on BAT. Just in case, for some reason we missed this weather window. So number one, when does the window close? And in case we miss the weather window, what happens next? And when would you expect that setup to be completed in that case?
Really, the weather window is, the weather becomes rougher, as we get into May. But as you know, monsoon starts sometime in June. But typically, no activities are not carried out beyond mid-May. And given that we have already mobilized all the resources, we are quite confident to complete it in this weather window.
Understood. And after we begin our oil production, the oil and gas production.
Mr. Rohit, so this is the operator. So there is a disturbance coming from your line, sir, from the background.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. You may go ahead.
Hello, is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. No, so my follow-up question is, what time would you take to scale up the production to the full capacity after you begin?
The ramp-up will be quite fast. So we've already tested these wells. You don't need much time to ramp up. Each well will be hooked up and brought to production.
Okay, great. And last question, sir, is, historically, ever since the new management took over, we have been focusing on one big project at a time. So DROC, then PY1, and then I believe BAT. So given the cash inflow into the company will go up once BAT comes into stream, do we think we have the management bandwidth to, let's say, do two big things simultaneously going forward to hasten, accelerate the pace of expansion, or do you think we still need some more time to build the management bandwidth to the same?
No, I think we would be able to do simultaneously more projects post BAT. In fact, as you could see, we already moved on DROC with all that preparation in terms of regulatory clearances. We have initiated regulatory approval process for Cambay. We have initiated regulatory approval process for PY1. We would have the bandwidth to do more after doing the BAT.
Okay, so once BAT is done, we'll be working on, let's say, 2-3 projects and trying to bring them online together or simultaneously, if not together.
We'll decide the sequence, but we have initiated the process for all assets.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's all from me.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hardik Jain from Whitestone Financial Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Just one follow-up question, sir. We had announced some time back that BAT is it is not a single isolated pool and it is a connected reservoir, and the potential is 8,000 barrels per day. So, what does this mean? If you can explain a little bit.
Yeah. Now, what we have announced is 8,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day, which consists of both oil and gas. That is what we had announced. What we are confident now is to ensure that this level of production continues for a longer period, and if we choose to drill more wells in future, that can also be increased as well. But right now, the focus is on getting this production, and the resource base allows us to produce at this level for a longer period.
So I just wanted to understand, what does this connected reservoir means? Do we have to share some of our revenues with some other party in this case, or?
No. Actually, the connected reservoir means there is a continuity in the reservoir as such. It is not an isolated pools. It falls within the area. Basically, you make a volumetric estimates, and that the area constitutes the bigger chunk that will define the volume of oil and gas in place. If the area is a continuous one, that your total volume we estimate for that area would be much higher than as an isolated pools. That is what is called as a connected reservoir.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manan Patel, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir, and congratulations for mobilizing resources for BAT. So my first question is on the DROC field. So we have seen the spikes in gas prices in last couple of months across Asia. So what is your estimate or sense of next APM benchmark being starting April?
So as you said, you see APM prices have a lag of almost a 6 months lag. They take for the period of April 1st to September end, so they would take the prices of these markets that Jiva explained of what was the prevailing price almost 6 months back. So there is a lag of 6 months in their pricing calculation as such. So we don't expect a very huge spike. As I said, we are expecting it to be certainly above $2.
Understood. Okay. And sir, as you mentioned, the bidding will be premium above the whatever benchmark comes even in the next starting April, right?
Correct. Yes.
Understood. And sir, my next question is on BAT. Earlier in the call, you mentioned that at $50 you would be doing revenue of around 300 and 200 crores of bottom line. So that would be 60% of the share, right?
Yeah, correct. 60% of the share.
And sir, at 5,000, and this is only for oil, from what I understand.
No, oil and gas together.
Because we take a conservative estimate, because we wanted to put the field on production before we give a number as it, and we wanted to be a little more conservative on that. And the exact number, once we put it on the production, depending on the gas offtake, and we'll be coming out with a better numbers. This is the minimum number which we showed.
Wouldn't it be like way more conservative? Because even if I take 5,000 barrels per day, that still comes to around 400 crores at $50. The revenue number of your share. That's like really very conservative.
See, what is happening is, this is not we are pumping the oil on daily basis. What will happen, we have a storage capacity about 1 million barrels. So we will be loading into the vessel. Then we have to look for the pricing, and then accordingly we will offload that oil, right? It will not be a monthly revenue accrual to us. It will be on once in a quarter. We will be offloading the oil there into it. So we looked into all conservative estimates. We looked at the price of $50, government share, and everything. So we didn't value much to the gas at the moment, unless we get everything is tied up and till to the last penny. So we look at a conservative estimate of 300 crores for that, and 200 crores is the P&L.
Out of the 5,000 barrels, our share is only 60%, Manan.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I understand that. And sir, the last question is, as you said, there will be as soon as the production starts from BAT, you might be debt free in a year's time, probably even lesser. But so after that, there will be significant cash accrual on the balance sheet. So do you see your HOEC going inorganic way to expand?
See, we have an organic opportunities as well as inorganic as such. So inorganic opportunities we'll pursue once we have enough cash in the company. That will happen only at the end of the next financial year, right?
Right.
Okay, first we wanted to keep the company debt free. Then we have an organic growth. Then we look at an inorganic. That's a plan we have it in place.
Right. I just wanted to understand that you would be open for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We are open for it at a price.
Understood. Definitely. That's very helpful, sir. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Lango from Hindustan Oil Exploration Company Limited for closing comments.
Thank you all for joining this call. BAT being the first offshore DSF field on track for production is receiving all the support required from DGH, ONGC and government. So at HOEC, we have a single-minded focus and deployed all our resources and energy into successful execution of this landmark project. We will not leave any stone unturned to complete it in this season. Thank you all.
Thank you. On behalf of Hindustan Oil Exploration Company Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.